Morning guys, Ian here. Welcome to another day and another video. As you can see, I'm just kind of newly awake, freshly out of the tub with my first cup of tea of the day, which anybody who's interested is black green apple. And I had an urge to make this video this morning because the first thoughts that I had when I opened my eyes, I was going to say when I opened my mind, but kind of same thing, isn't it, when you wake up, was, is all this a load of nonsense? Hocus pocus, pretentious rubbish, emperor's new clothes. And by all of this, what I mean is the spiritual stuff that I'm actually talking about on my videos. And for someone who all his life has had a sense of a spiritual dimension to existence, I used to find it strange that I would have these thoughts which would come quite regularly. And do you ever get that? Do you ever get that sometimes you question whether the things you believe are actually real? If you do, that was my cat, by the way. If you do, then I think that's a good thing. I think it's meant to happen. I think it's a natural process. Because we live in a world where we kind of know that what we are seeing is not the only reality. So there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance going on, isn't there? On the one hand, we know something, but on the other hand, we see something which seems to be different to that. So there's this conflict, if you like, in some senses, of the knowing and the seeing. And what I find is, as my spiritual journey continues, I begin to see more than I saw before. But I still get this, from time to time, this questioning. Now, why is that? And what do we do about it when it happens? Well, there are some people who would say to you, if you have any spiritual belief, this is a load of rubbish. This is nonsense. You're kidding yourself. Get a grip. Why can't they see what we see? Now, my answer to that is that we're all at different stages of our spiritual journey. And it's a bit like colour blindness. You know, when you see those eye test charts and you can look at it maybe and you can see the numbers in the dots, which are of a slightly different colour, and other people will look at the chart and they can't see anything. And because they can't see the number or the letter, the optometrist knows that they have a deficiency in their colour vision. Well, it's the same, I think, with spiritual awareness. Some people are not that far on their spiritual journey yet. They haven't had the awakening that you've had. Their spiritual eyesight is still in the colour blindness stage. And I don't mean that to sound conceited, that, you know, we are better than people who are at that stage, because we're not. We're the very same as. We are just further down the road on our journey. And I think it's always good to question our beliefs. Not to take things blindly. To use the intelligence that we've been gifted with to try and make sense of what we see, what we know around and about us. But when I think about, is all this a load of rubbish, what do I do to kind of deal with that? Well, the first thing I do is I think, what do you think most? Do you think mostly that it isn't real? Or do you think mostly that all the beliefs that you hold are real? Which do you hold consistently and for longest? And every time it is in the spiritual dimension. Because ever since a child, before I was taught anything about anything spiritually, I instinctively knew that there was something, that there was a world behind the world in which I lived. I would be a tree hugger. I would talk to flowers, I would talk to animals. Ancient stones always fascinated me. I would have to go and touch them. I didn't know what it was I was getting from them, but I needed to touch them. And then as I grew up and moved through my years in the church, there would be things that I would hear and I would know instinctively that they were right. It was like not a learning, but a remembering of something that I always knew. In a feeling way, not in an intellectual way, but in a kind of like a circuit closed. Like when I would encounter a truth, whether it would be in the church or whether it would be after I wasn't a member of the church, the same sensation. It's like a circuit closing and a reconnecting and a remembering. So yeah, that's the first thing I would think. Well, which belief do you hold consistently for longest? And then I would ask myself, well, why is it now that you're thinking these thoughts? And this morning, to wake up to this, is all this a load of nonsense? I know exactly why that was. It was triggered by something I was reading last night about the nature of reality, which I touched briefly on my last night's video. But it caused me to think about the nature of reality. And it's so fantastic to think that reality is actually not external to me. It is within myself. All of this out here, my little dog here, my home, my friends, my world, the reality of all of that is not outside of me. It is within me, within my mind, my intelligence, my soul, if you like. It's powerful stuff. And of course, when we're presented with powerful things like this, it takes us a while to assimilate and, sorry with a cough, make some sense of it. So doubt is good. Doubt is helpful. It's like a step. We come across the step of doubt and we work through it, and then we're further along than we were before. Hello, what do you want? Do you want Lil? I think she's agreeing with me. That's my train of thought completely shot. Yes, so what about then things that we learn? And because whilst it's right to doubt and question, there are going to be some things that we are going to encounter on our journeys which may not be accurate, which may not be right, which may not be helpful. So what's our test for that then? Well, for me, it's about what would be the result of my believing that and assimilating it into my beingness. What results would it produce? And if it would produce results that are good and whole and pure and helpful and beneficial and in keeping with the character of what I term the light of the world, the divine character, then yeah, I'm going to give it some head space, some heart space. But if it is something that is contradictory to those what's the word, parameters, processes, those qualities, those values, then I'm less likely to think about them or to bring them on board. Which really is, goes back to scripture, which I keep quoting because it's kind of infused in me. You know, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As a person thinks in their heart, so are they. And also about, you know, filling your mind with such things that are good and right and pure and lovely, not things that demean and debase, devalue and make us less than the wonderful spiritual beings that we are. So yeah, my first thoughts were, is all of this a load of rubbish? And I've chewed it over, and I've thought about why I might think that, and I know that they're not. I know that everything that I have believed and do believe is right. Not a knowing in my head, but a knowing in my being, in every particle of myself, down to the subatomic levels. You know? My electrons, my protons, my neutrons. Because they each have an intelligence of their own. They know it to be true. There is a world beyond the world in which we live and move and have our being. And quantum physicists are actually proving that, aren't they, day by day, that at the core of the atom there's really nothing. That all of our reality is really nothing. It's illusion. It is, rather than a thing, it's just a state of being. It's the thought form of the divine, if you like. And many months ago, I think, I can't even remember where I saw it now or who said it, but a little phrase that just stuck with me and it keeps repeating in my mind, that all of creation is simply God dancing with himself. A dream in the mind of God. What a lovely thought. Anyway, time to get up and out, and thank you for listening yet again. Catch you guys soon. Bye, and have a good day.